Alarming, unacceptable, a nightmare. Just some of the international reactions to a deadly incident in Gaza, which saw scores of people die in a chaotic scramble for food. There are conflicting reports of what exactly happened. Hamas health officials say more than 100 people were killed after Israeli soldiers opened fire on a crowd near an aid convoy. Israeli officials say most of the dead were trampled in a stampede. More in this report.
These aerial images have been released by Israel's military. It says they show Palestinians in Gaza City running towards 8 trucks in the early hours of Thursday morning, resulting in a deadly stampede.
At 4:45 a.m., a mob ambushed the 8 trucks, bringing the convoy to a halt. As you can see in this video, the tanks that were there to secure the convoy sees the Gazans being trampled and cautiously tries to disperse the mob with a few warning shots. When the hundreds became thousands and things got out of hand, the tank commander decided to retreat to avoid harm to the thousands of Gazans that were there. The Israel Defense Forces operate according to the rules of engagement and the international law. No IDF strike was conducted towards the aid convoy.
The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza has presented a different version of events, saying more than 100 civilians were shot dead by Israeli troops while waiting for aid. Eyewitnesses said that some truck drivers tried to escape the Israeli fire, causing deaths and injuries, and some of the wounded said they were hit by Israeli gunshots.
After they stopped shooting, we went back to get our aid. By the time I got flour and some canned goods and took it down from the truck, they shot at us. If you want to get us aid this way, then you might as well not bring anything.
The U.S. says it's trying to establish exactly what happened and that the incident underscores the need to expand the supply of humanitarian aid into Gaza.
2 things are clear. One, just from the aerial footage, you can look at that and right away conclude the situation is incredibly desperate. And that tells you that we need to do more to get humanitarian assistance in. And then the second thing is that too many Palestinians died today, as has been true far too many days since October 7th. And so that's why we continue to push for a temporary ceasefire agreement.
President Joe Biden has warned that it could complicate the negotiations underway between Israel and Hamas to reach a temporary halt in the fighting.
As we've heard there, the different versions of the events in Gaza. Here's Jerusalem-based journalist Sami Sokol with more on this.
Yeah, well, I think maybe the important part is actually the fact that the Israel Defense Forces, they admitted opening fire at a crowd. They said that there was a tank and soldiers that opened fire at the Palestinians. They were unarmed. If they would have been armed, we would have heard about it. So we're talking about opening fire towards a group of unarmed Palestinians. And they say that the distance between this force and these Palestinians was tens of meters. So they weren't that close. Nevertheless, the IDF said that they posed a threat. So these soldiers, we're talking about around 4 o'clock, it was dark, it was night conditions. They felt that they were under threat. They opened fire, and they claim that they only hit 10. But when we go to a Shifa hospital, we see that the numbers, of course, are much higher. So I think if you would want to investigate, you would have to go to Shifa and see how many were wounded from that shooting.